Thanks for coming. I'm Cori. I work at Nielsen, and I'm on the client solutions team. I work with tech and digital media companies like Lyft. Super excited to be here on a beachside chat with Shane, who is the head of sales and media at Lyft. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here. This is pretty awesome. You're right. This is a great conference. Yeah, my name's Shane Dwyer, and I work at Lyft, heading up sales. And I work with these fine individuals right here, Laura Nardella, who runs our East Coast, and Matt Triano, who runs our West Coast. So nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, everybody. We are going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the industry just as a backdrop. The core of the conversation is just to learn a little bit about full funnel measurement that we know Lyft cares a lot about, and how Lyft thinks about how that powers media strategy. So we hope you get a few good stories in and you walk away entertained. One of the things I mentioned is the huge transformation in the industry, and that's kind of an important backdrop just to think about full funnel measurement and Lyft's role in the space. Just a couple of things to call out there. We've seen that marketers are spending 63% of their media budgets in digital compared to 37% in traditional, and that's majorly changed over the past 10 years. We've seen marketers say that retail media is way more important than it was last year. And we've seen that this is the era of streaming. 40% of all TV is streaming. So that backdrop, it's a massively changing industry, and Lyft is fairly new on the scene. And we know that consumers don't necessarily think of Lyft as a traditional media company. So it'd be great to hear a little bit more about what Lyft is all about in the ads business.
Yeah, the Lyft is definitely not a traditional media company. You're right about that. So little backstory. I've been at Lyft for 13 months, so a little over a year. Matt and Laura have been there a little bit shorter than that. And the reality is we're just building this business right now, right? So Lyft is a 12-year-old rideshare company that specializes in getting people from point A to point B, whether it's in a car, so vehicular transportation, or some of you guys might not know, we have a huge bike and scooter share business. So City Bike in New York, if any of you guys live in New York, or Divvy in Chicago, or Bay Wheels in San Francisco, and all of these other markets. So we have a huge business that did, I think it was $3.7 billion in rides last quarter, which translates to roughly, around 200,000 rides, which is a lot of rides that we're delivering on a quarterly basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly basis. And so what we're doing right now within the media division is utilizing the data that we have on the customer, thinking about the volume of riders that we have, and building a media business within that. That's kind of like cross-section with retail media and traditional media. We sit on a lot of user data, and I think we'll talk about that in a little bit, in a few minutes. But we're really just sort of in the starting phases of building this business right now, trying to understand how we can deliver a marketing message for a brand within the moment of when you're going somewhere. And it's a really interesting solution. We also have tablets. So we have, I guess I should introduce the products. We have an in-app ads business that we've built over the last 6 to 8 months. We launched with, and I know this will sound hilarious, display ads. And then we fast followed with video. Didn't sit on a lot of solutioning around measurement. So that's one of the reasons why we're excited with our partnership. So we have a big in-app business. We're also launching tablets and installing them in the back of our highest volume drivers, which is a really interesting business because we have the one-to-one connection with the rider. So we know who is in the actual vehicle, and we can deliver ads on the phone as well as on the screens that are bigger screens in the back of the car. And then we also have a more traditional out-of-home business that exists within our bike shares and actual digital screens on top of cabs in New York City. So it's a bit of an omni-channel solution, but like I mentioned, it kind of cross sections with retail because we're doing millions of rides, on a daily basis. And if you look at retail media, they're monetizing, building identity graphs and using their retail data for showing efficacy of media. We think we can do the same thing. If we're doing millions of rides every day, how can we build an ad product that actually will drive incremental drop-offs to a retailer or a restaurant?
Love it. One of the things you said earlier when we were chatting is that you've got a rider in a car for around 35 minutes-ish on average, which is an interesting stat when you're thinking about media. It's the length of a Netflix or a TV show. So that's cool. And my first experience with Lyft ads, I was coming home from dinner, and the relevance really resonates with me. I was looking to be entertained. I checked the app 20 times maybe, and I saw a Trolls 3 ad. Woo! I was in the mood to be entertained, and I was thinking about what to take my son to do that weekend, and I went and saw Trolls 3. So
Conversion. Love it.
it was very relevant. I was open to it. So kind of pivoting to full funnel measurement, you announced a partnership with Nielsen a few months ago that we still are very excited about. It's very innovative. It's 3 components. It's audience measurement, how many you're helping advertisers understand, or you will help them understand how many people they're reaching and who, brand measurement, how Lyft ads move awareness, and even sales. So it's truly full funnel. Why is that important to you to get started and make that available to your advertisers?
So it's table stakes, right? Like measurement is table stakes. And we needed to do a partnership with you guys to help prove the fact that our theory is that our media can actually, drive things like sales and acquisitions and other KPIs that customers matter or care about. And so we haven't had the ability to measure that really in the past. We are, and again, I'm going to make a joke, but I said display ads, we're looking at click-through rates right now as a proxy of success, which is really funny, but it's actually the reality because we're a very new business, right? So, and the click-through rates are crazy. It's 5% for display and 10% for video. They're very high. The reality is we're running ads in a moment where you're hyper focused on looking at your phone. You mentioned some of the stats. So the 27 minutes is the average time from when you open up the app to when you get out and you rate and pay your driver. And the average time of when you're in the car is 15 minutes. So think about that, all of you guys, when you get a car, you pull up the car, you're waiting to be matched, you're looking for the ETA, you're looking for the make, model, trim of the car, what color, license plate, all that, right? You're in the car, you're looking at the ETA, where is it on the map, when am I going to get dropped off? You're texting your friends. It's not rocket science. During that moment, we're serving up sight, sound, and motion-based ads that are targeted based on where you're going and where you've been, that are driving performance. We just haven't been able to prove it in the past. So yeah, we are excited to be able to show that we're actually driving downstream KPIs that we haven't been able to before.
Yeah, that's great. They're very eye-catching ads too, so I get the high media metrics. Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that because we've seen that a lot of marketers are highly focused on looking at ROI measurement, but 2/3 of them are still using, you're not alone, click-throughs, CPM, CPCs. Mm-hmm. But we know from data that none of those metrics truly correlate or predict downstream sales. So it's great that you have all these offerings. You're looking to help your customers really understand what Lyft is doing for them. With that said, what are some of the things you hope that they use that measurement for, and what do they learn from, and what do they iterate and optimize with?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we're trying to build a business, and we're trying to build a business fast. I'm looking at two people over here that I'm doing it with, so thank you. And you can't build a business if you're not proving that you work, right? There's going to be some leeway that your partners and people that you've worked with in the past are going to give you to do some fun things, to be creative, but they're not going to continue to come back and drive, always on business unless you are performant. So I think first and foremost is with sort of the Nielsen One product, proving that the audience we have is the audience that we say we have, I think is really important, and enabling people to start to buy against those audiences. We have big plans in terms of our product roadmap, and we start to think about the amount of time you use the app and the amount of time you're in the car. There's a big video play there too that I think about that will enable us hopefully to be able to sell into pretty serious video budgets moving forward as well. So I think it's first and foremost proving the audience, and secondarily is proving that we're not just driving some lift in brand awareness, but we're actually driving sales. I think if we can prove that we can drive sales, or we can actually be a performant media platform, as we're taking all of our inventory, we're building our ad stack right now, and in the process of building our ad stack, we've got it built, but we're building more into it. But if we can make a biddable solution and we can play in the programmatic space and like actually perform, then I think we have like a real business to build off of. And I think I misspoke earlier. I think I said we do 200,000 rides on a quarter. It's 200 million rides. So it's a lot of people that we have the ability to target.
Scale. Yeah. And the great thing is if you can help demonstrate that you're reaching the people that the advertisers want to reach and show that relates to sales or moving awareness, that's something that they'll just trust more and more in. So that's great. You mentioned the audience, and there's another topic that's kind of talked about a lot, which is cookie deprecation. And that's really helped the emergence of the critical nature of first-party data. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about, I've heard your team talk about first-party data and you. Tell us a little bit more about how Lyft leverages that in the media business.
Yeah, so cookies, they're going away, right? I think, do we know? Has anyone talked to Google today? Like, is it happening? Like, we think it's happening. We're planning for it. Obviously, with Apple, and I don't know if anyone has been in France for like longer than 24 hours, but if you've pulled up just even like mobile browser and seen how like in your face the dialogue box is to ask, do you want to be tracked? Like, it's very different than back in America. So that's happening. And I mean, one of the things that we're rallying around is our first party data, right? So when you think about us as a logged in platform, we know from a historical perspective where you've been. Are you a coffee drinker? Are you a concert goer? Do you go to restaurants? Do you frequent a certain restaurant, right? And then there's opportunities for us to think about using that to build lifestyle segments, almost behavioral segments. Yeah. And then we understand sort of like the type of ride that you've taken. You take long rides, you take short rides, you take airport rides, you take rides to and from concerts. How do you pay, right? Are you a Chase Sapphire Reserve card holder? And do you pay with that because you earn 10x points and get 15% off or free Lyft ping for 2 years, which is 15% off of rides and priority pickups. So we have a lot of sort of payment information about our users. And I think like kind of the most interesting thing is we know where you're going at any given time. So if I leave you guys with anything, we're trying to commercialize destination intent. If anyone's worked in search before, they all know that like you will know that search intent is really low funnel and it is like last touch, and search gets all the credit for everything, which it should. Like it's performant. But we know where you're going, right? Like that's kind of cool and really interesting. And if we can start to use that as a proxy for targeting a hyper, relevant message to somebody who is leaving a stadium, and I'm going to use this use case because it's me. I'm leaving SoFi in LA and I'm going home, and there's a Taco Bell ad that pops up that's going to give me a discount off if I reroute through the drive-through. Like that's pretty interesting, right, and powerful, and we think that will really perform well.
Yeah, that I can think of so many use cases for different verticals to test that out. So before we wrap, since we're at Cannes Lion and it's all about creativity, what are some of your favorite creative executions on the platform?
I think you mentioned that the first favorite one, which was the Trolls 3, and I'm looking
Big
at you,
Trolls
Matt,
fan.
because Matt is the factor behind why and how that deal came together with our partners at Universal. So that was awesome. They came to us and they wanted to be super creative and innovative, and they wanted to trollify, the app.
Love that.
So we were able to be, I think, really, really creative and quick in the way that we came up with ideation around it, where we looked at our map. So they'd like initially it was like, all right, how do we take over the map? What do you do? And we didn't have a takeover product, right? Like we were just building ads. We just launched the in-app product, and so we took over the map and enabled them to put troll heads on the map in place of the cars. So when you picked up the app, it was trollified. We wrapped vehicles, so we have millions of drivers that are driving for us. In fact, funny, interesting stat, I think I shared this with you earlier. 2 weeks ago, we had our highest number of drivers in a day, which is actually more than all the baristas at Starbucks. So you think about like the amount of drivers that work for the actual app and the platform and drive people around. It's pretty impressive. So we were able to like take some of those driver cars and wrap them. They even we had, if you guys remember the Lyft pink mustache, we had conversations about with that actual person who was still working with us at Lyft, using that technology to put troll hair on top of the cars. We didn't end up doing that, but like, remember that conversation? That was a fun one. Wrapping bike stations in major metropolitan cities. So that was super cool. I'll say another one that was really fun, and it's in the entertainment space, is Paramount with the second season of Halo that came out. They did a similar thing when they took over the map, and you're killing it in advertising when your Reddits and subreddits on top of the subreddits are like, what is happening with Lyft? Lyft is broken. Aliens have taken over Lyft, because it was the Master Chief sort of head. So like those are some of the fun, I would say, creative examples that we've had fun with.
Definitely. I've heard from you and your team that one of the great things about being a new ad business in the category is your product team is open to iterate. So that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap?
I don't think so. I'm excited to have a cocktail with you guys. And happy to chat with anyone if anyone wants to talk. And Laura and Matt are here too. We're super excited about the partnership. We think that there's a huge opportunity for us to bring this collectively together, to go out and market and prove that our media works. And we think we have a really big thing. So this is like almost like a coming out party for us. We're just getting started, and I'm excited to where this is going to be in 12 months from now.
Nice. Thanks for inviting us to your party.
It's going to be fun.
I know. Thanks for being here, everybody. That's